Hello there. Today I'm going to be talking about the Thrawn Trilogy and its various covers. I'm going to be comparing and contrasting the original covers versus the Legends 2014 reprint banner covers that had the original art before they switched to these covers in like 2015. So these covers here were only on the market for about 5 months, making these arguably the rarest copies of the Thrawn Trilogy that you can get, but there is a hardcover trilogy collection that is considered to be rare. These are, in any case, the rarest paperback copies, as they were only available on the market for around 5 months before being replaced by these covers, which I mentioned earlier, but those covers are the ones presently available today in mass market paperback, as they replaced the covers in around 2015. Now, I don't have the original copies of all of them. This is a first printing of the Heir to the Empire in paperback. This is a second printing, I believe. It's got a different logo on the spine. I believe this is the second printing, and then this was a third printing. As you can see, the original way that they had kind of the Star Wars logo stick off the book. You'll see it best when I open it up and you see the indentation. That was not present with this. So I think this is the third printing. Yeah, 93 sounds like it would have been the third printing. But for all intents and purposes, these are original copies of the Thrawn Trilogy on the left, as they didn't really change much over the various printings. And on the right are these Legends copies. But first I'm going to look at Heir to the Empire, the first book. So I'm going to set these other ones aside, and we're going to take a look at what changed about these covers. So, obviously the font is different for the Star Wars logo and then the title of the book, and then different lettering and titling set in different places. But the art itself, to me, it looks like they made it clearer on the one on the right. It's an oranger light here, and it seems to be sharper and a whiter light on Luke's face on the right copy. To me, it's like a warmer light on the original art, which makes me think that the one on the right, they did something to make it cooler. Not cooler as in, that's awesome, but cooler as in temperature. They put a cool filter on it to make it whiter, the light. Then the spines, this spine will be hard to see because it's been well loved. But there you can see the difference as well. The Star Wars logo obviously being in a different spot. The Legends banner obviously being a difference. But yeah, I do prefer the spine for the second one, I think. I like how it stands out a bit more. And then the back as well. The Disney logo, an unwelcome addition to the back of the 2014 printing. But other than that, it looks largely the same. Again, the planet here that you can see in the background, slightly sharper on the copy on the right. It's interesting. But I'll open this up so that you can see 2014 Del Rey Mass Market Edition. Very interesting. So I will set those aside. Not too many differences noticeable there between those covers. But as we get to Dark Force Rising, the much more controversial one, we'll start to see the differences. So here's Dark Force Rising. And with Dark Force Rising, there's a very obvious difference. Luke's face is completely messed up on the reprint. What were they even doing? Let's see how close I can get them together. Look at that. That's just so wrong. And then they changed his lightsaber to be lighter. It's a darker green on the original. For some reason, they made it a lighter green on the reprint. But they made his hair lighter and fairer. It's more blonde than brown. And they made him look a completely different direction. What's wrong with his face here? I get that there's light on it, but it looks like Luke. This does not look like Luke. Oh my goodness. They really butchered that. Then the titling's different as well. Also notice the Thrawn Trilogy Book 2. Interestingly, the first one does not say the Thrawn Trilogy Book 1, which is a sort of peculiar choice, but it's interesting that they're acknowledging, it's called the Thrawn Trilogy, so they're putting that on it there. Spines look more or less the same. It's a little sharper on 3PO and R2 here, and again, it's like a warmer light on the original one. Then the back, yes, torn on my copy. But overall, I kind of like this one on the back. I think they've touched it up to be a bit sharper. It looks pretty good, actually. But then on the front, I'll again go back to this. They've cleared up the explosions, right? So that looks nice. Less, like, kind of bright and more subtle. So that looks okay. The TIE Fighters they made really dark, though. So you can barely see them, but you can really see them there on the original cover. The Falcon's touched up a bit as well for the shading on it. But again, what did they do to Luke's face? Oh my goodness. That's just insane. So that's a more controversial and obvious difference there. I think the most obvious between the printings. Moving on to Last Command. Alrighty. So here I'm noticing again it's like warmer, the lighting on the original copy. And they've like toned it down and made it sharper. Like the blue lightning here is more obvious. The explosion's more obvious. Looks like they touched up Sabioth a little bit. He looks less rizzled. He looks less wizened and wrinkled. I tried to combine the words. On the reprint, it's like they removed the wrinkles from his forehead. Compared to on the left, on the original, he looks very old. Still looks old on the right, but his skin's less wrinkly. It's interesting. I'm not seeing too many differences. They touched up the lightsabers to be less bright and more colorful. And then the lettering is different as well. Thrawn Trilogy Book 3 rather than Volume 3 of a 3-book cycle. And turning it over, the spines look about the same to me. And, well, you can't really see what's going on the art on the bottom because of where they positioned the ISBN stuff, and then the Disney logo again as well. So, yeah. It looks pretty good, though. It looks pretty good overall. The back cover there. So these are pretty cool, though. I'm very glad I picked up these Legends Banner copies because they're just so much... I guess it's sort of to an extent depressing. This was the turnover. This was Legends turning over a new leaf. This was the first Legends Banner printing, which is very sad. But at the same time, they're very cool to have because these copies, where it's Legends banners with the original covers, were only available on the market for around 5 months. So that means that they're rare, hard to find. It took me forever to find these. And these are timeless. These are awesome copies to have. I really, really love these copies. Of course, I prefer these original copies without these ugly yellow Legends banners. But I feel it's really cool to have these since they're such rare copies of the Thrawn Trilogy. So I made an unboxing about these a little while ago, a couple weeks back. So you can go watch that if you want. But I figured I'd make a video actually comparing directly the covers to each other.